Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, August 16th, 2023, and coming to you from Studio 1A at Lonely Tree Media Headquarters in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I went with the other intro music.
The other intro music?
I went
classic.
back to the classic. I guess that's the way we put it. Because you said you
Classic.
liked it better.
I do like the classic better.
Okay.
The other one just seems off.
Okay.
But maybe it's just because I'm used to it and like that one. I don't know.
I don't know either. But maybe we'll just mix it up. We'll go back and forth. I don't know. We'll have to have a fan vote. I'm your host, David Lamm. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
It's a big crowd in here today. We had standing room only, mostly because it's super hot and everybody's trying to get into an air-conditioned building.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. What's the temperature in Denver?
92.
Oh, as a high today?
As a high today. Yeah. It's a warm week, but it's not. They're saying it's probably our last warm week because I guess here it starts to dip off hard in September. So whereas in Oregon in Washington it could start getting cool anytime between.
We're at 106 today. That's supposed to be our high. 107 yesterday. Yesterday we're almost as hot as Phoenix. It's warm. It's warm, but it's supposed to drop off precipitously. Tomorrow's 90 something and then 80s. So
Precipitously.
Yes. So big word. That's your nickel word for the day. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and please check out our webpage. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on lambsports.com. College football realignment is a big thing today in the news. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the WNBA is thinking about becoming bigger. NFL preseason is underway. Do we care? I mean, kind of. Did we watch that? Anyway, we'll talk about that. The Lakers re-signed Anthony Davis to a record deal. Should they? Women's World Cup is down to the Final Four. But first, our Stave and Stone trivia question, which you have, and I have no idea what it's going to be. So let's hear it.
So I've got a couple of them, and I think they're all pretty good ones. And I think we should just ask and answer right now.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So we're gonna do a couple college football ones, and then I got one WNBA one.
There's three?
I said there's I have a bunch of them. They're all pretty good though.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, that was interesting.
There you go.
All right. In the BCS era, which QB had the single season highest passer rating? In the BCS era.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Highest passer rating in the BCS era. Okay, you want to answer right now or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hear what you got.
If I had to throw in, that's rough. That's a rough one because passer rating is not something I keep an eye on because I really don't care. I think it's a made up stat, but that's not the point. Ken Dorsey.
Incorrect. The correct answer is Russell Wilson, Wisconsin. Yeah, he was 225 of 309 for 3,175 yards and 33 touchdowns and 4 picks. So having a passer rating of 191.78. Yeah, he is the highest of all time. All right, moving on to the second one.
Well,
BCS? Wait, what?
I was gonna say, who else is on that list? Is there more than that list?
It literally just lists the question and the answer, not like a set of answers. So,
gotcha.
Which BCS team had the worst record against the FCS in the BCS era?
So which BCS eligible team? Not like a team that played in a BCS championship.
Right. Which BCS eligible team?
So like a Power 5 team.
Yes, exactly.
Had the worst record against FCS opponents. Well, gosh, I don't know. They don't play that many teams. I mean, but it's got to be somebody that's not very good, right?
Right.
So it's got to be somebody who hasn't won a whole lot of games in the. I want to say Oregon State.
No, but same conference currently. It is Colorado. The
Really?
Buffs are 2-2 when facing FCS foes since 1998 up until 2012, whenever it ended.
Oh,
So, yeah,
I was thinking Oregon State used to be good for one loss a year for a while, right? They lost to Portland State at least once. They lost to Eastern Washington, wasn't it? They lost to I'm trying to remember. But anyway, all right, go ahead.
okay.
Hmm.
All right. Well, who holds the record for the single season sack record during the BCS era? He was really dominant in college. He was even more dominant in the NFL.
Single season sack record in the BCS era.
In the BCS era.
Oh, I gotta go back a little ways. I'm not sure when I'm going to try to remember when the BCS actually ended. 2014 was the last. 2013.
Yes. 2014, something like that.
And who would have played?
Actually, 2012 was the last year of the BCS, ending in the 2013 national championship. 2013 season started with the 2014 national championship, right?
I don't know.
Or I might be off by
I think
1
it's
year.
I think it's
Oregon,
14-15 was because that was when Oregon played. I think that was the very
Oregon
first
was in the
college football
inaugural one.
playoff game. Yeah.
Okay, there's your answer.
So it would have been 2013-14 would have been the last season of the BCS.
Your hint for this, guys, the year was 2002.
Oh, good lord. Um. Mm-hmm.
Who are some of the best, what they call quarterback catchers in the NFL history? This guy's a Hall of Famer.
I'm sure he is, but there's a lot of them.
This is
Sacks
one of the
became a
best
gigantic, and I'm not that familiar with
Oh.
that time frame. That time frame
Okay,
is terrible.
It's too specific of a question.
Yeah. Who is it?
Terrell Suggs,
Oh,
Arizona
okay.
State.
Fair.
Oh, by the way, always have a connection to Colorado being Pac-12 and things we're talking about today. Terrell Suggs is Arizona State, Pac-12.
Mhm.
Russell Wilson connected to Oregon and my Broncos. So there's a lot of things there.
Okay.
So the next question is WNBA.
All right.
So obviously Sabrina Ionescu did something really incredible the other day, becoming the third WNBA player with 100 three-pointers made in a season.
Mhm.
How many NBA players made 100 three-pointers or more last year?
Oh, last year. How many NBA players made 100 or more 3-pointers? And I want to think. I mean, I was just looking up 3-point like records for a season, like how many made.
Yeah.
And it's now like if you don't hit 300, you're not even in the running.
Yeah, you're barely breathing. Yeah.
So I feel like 100 is a fairly common number anymore.
Sure.
With the amount of throwing up threes, but now I'm thinking about how many guys on a team can make 100.
Right.
Maybe 3 on a team. We got how many teams? 30?
30. 15 players on a roster. It's 450 players.
I'm going with 85.
The answer is 121.
Oh, good lord, it's more than I thought.
121 NBA players made 3 points, and there's a handful of them. They're sitting at 98 and 99. So Kevin Love, off the bench player, made 99 last year. Benedict Mathurin made 100 last year.
But for some of these guys, that's all they do.
Christian Wood, the center from Dallas, made 105. I'll await your next excuse for why we aren't making. Jabari Smith, power forward, made 120. I would say I was looking through this list and some of the people that kind of initially surprised me. Well, first of all, I didn't know Klay Thompson led the league last year with 301.
Yeah,
I did not know that. I know he's good, but I didn't know he'd made that many still, even with him not being as great as he previously had been. But CJ McCollum is still 13th at 211. There's 14, and let me double check here. There's 20 guys with over 200. So
yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting because when I heard this thing about Sabrina Ionescu, I was like, oh, I wonder how many NBA players that did this. And I saw it and I went, okay, so a fourth of the league made 100 in 1 year, and
Right.
only the third WNBA player ever in all seasons made 100.
Well, but they play a fraction of the games. They don't play quite half.
Oh, I understand, but it's still alarming.
Well,
that'd be three. Even if it was 3 a year, it'd be 3 people out of what? There's 144 roster spots or something like that in the WNBA because there's only 12 teams.
Yeah,
12 players per spot, so it's like 144. That's still a tiny fraction compared to the quarter of the league that doesn't.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was crazy.
It's interesting. It's become super prevalent in the NBA. It is the shot. It everything else is, you know, setup. Driving to the basket, going inside is all been set up for a pass to the outside for someone to shoot a three. That's how it works now. It's not your primary job isn't to pound it inside and beat the opponent with twos because the other team runs down the floor, shoots a three, and your 2 pointer is erased. So there's no there's no advantage to being a big power team anymore. Some guys are powerful. We have some big power centers, but there's no advantage to that being your offense.
When do you think that started?
Well, I was looking through the history of 3 pointers and when they ballooned, when they skyrocketed.
Right.
And crap, now I don't have it up here, but I had it up here for a while. I don't have it up here anymore. It was sometime in and around the 2000 era when you see a large jump in. So, for example, the 3 point shot in the NBA started 79-80. That was the first season.
Mm-hmm.
The 80-81 winner, the guy who shot, not winner, but the guy who shot the most, made the most 3 pointers in 80-81, made 57 3 pointers.
Sounds right.
57. Okay. The year before, in the very first season, had 69, right? But that was kind of the thing 70, 80, 90. Okay. And then all of a sudden they break 100. Okay. And so because people are starting to shoot, they realize the value, right? And then sometime in the 90s, there's a significant jump from 100 to 160, 70, 150, right? That ballpark. And then sometime in the 2000s, there's the jump over 200, and it becomes it just inflates quick after that. 200, 220, 230, and now it's what 400, 320, 3 whatever. You know, Steph Curry's had 400, at least twice, maybe 3 times. So it's somewhere in the 2000s, it started to get big. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
I'm sitting here. Well, I mean, people realize if you practice it, you can get an extra point every time.
Extra points, right?
So I'm sitting here clicking through year by year. I went back to 2005, and I'm clicking year by year. And so last year, remember, there was 120 something players with over 100 threes. Every year from 2005 to I'm now at 2012-13 season, there have been less than 60 players.
And that's when Steph Curry started.
57 here in 2012-13. So it's I think you're right. I think around 2015,
9, 10. Anyway, go ahead.
It's gonna absolutely, it's the number's gonna jump up because I was like, oh, here's 63 in 2013-14. We still have a long way to go before we catch up another 140 players, or not 140 players, or 60 players at this rate. It's just it's crazy. It did just kind of happen overnight, and then people became really good at it overnight.
Yeah. Well, you had
coaches started giving people green lights.
You had some guys come in that were just that's what they did, and Steph Curry is one of those people. And people realized that man, you almost can't stop him from doing it. And if you got a guy that can shoot that, then your team is hard to beat, especially if he can pass the ball when he gets in trouble. If he can drive to the basket, also then it makes him extremely hard because you got to guard him now 40 feet, right? I mean, Damian Lillard, if you don't guard him at 35 feet, he's going to pull up and shoot a three. It's probably going in.
Steph Curry had 402 in
402
season. Wow, that is so many threes.
But he also shot.
That's made. Yeah, it's not attempted. That's made.
Made. Yeah, he also shot a lot. It's not. So I was looking at the record for how many 3-point attempts, right? And it's over 1,000. James Harden in like 3 or 4 years ago had over 1,000 3-point attempts. And I'm like, 1,000, that's over 10 something a game. All of your shots are from 3-point range.
I've seen it, 1,028. But that was the year Houston was like, we've got to catch up to Golden State.
And it was
and they just went crazy just shooting that.
And he made 300 and something. I'm like 370 or 360 or something. I don't know.
78, yeah.
But he
his 3-point percentage was actually only at .368.
Yeah, it's one of the
lower.
Puts
him much lower than his peers in the top 10
It's one of the lower 3-point percentages, but anytime you shoot up 1,000 shots from 3-point range, because that's not all of his shots. He didn't shoot every shot from 3-point range. So, I mean, how many shots did he throw up that year?
Well, according to this, he attempted 1,028 3-pointers and 881 2-pointers. So he attempted Yeah, 1800, no,
2,000.
1900, some, yeah,
Yeah.
1900 shots.
2,000 shots in he probably didn't play in all 82 games either.
And his
So
total field goal percentage was a .442, so that's respectable enough.
yeah,
So,
which means he was much better from the floor from the 2 point range, right?
right.
Because he had to because he's only 36% from three, so he had to be closer to 50% from two. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
kind of wild.
I don't know. I feel like if you make half your 2 point shots, right, and you take 10,
Hmm.
you scored 10 points.
Yes.
If you make a third of your 3 point shots and you shoot 10, you've made 10 points.
Right.
So it's the same. But
Give or take.
I mean,
There's an emotional component to a three, I think, right?
yeah.
It's a
Oh,
it's a
it's
it's
a
a dagger. It
it's a
hurts,
it's something that gets people riled up. The fans
especially
do
when
it.
Steph does it the way he does it.
Yeah, it's true. You get those showboat guys that the Lillards and the Stephs and those guys who can just shoot crazy shots that you go no way and it goes in. You're like, all right,
Steph Curry's another one of those guys where I don't understand how some people don't like. If you don't like Golden State or if that's a rival, whatever, that's fine. But I don't understand how you don't like Steph Curry himself.
as a
He
person.
seems, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
as a person or just generally as a basketball player.
right.
He seems like, I mean, yeah, he showboats a little bit when he shoots those ridiculous threes and he flips around, but it's never like there's like an angry happy and like a happy happy.
It's show business.
I know, but
It's
the
entertainment.
difference is like you could hate somebody who like makes a three and then dogs on your players, right?
Yeah,
Because he's being aggressive towards other players. He never does that. He'll just turn around and like celebrate with fans or
yeah,
like yeah, the no look it seems disrespectful, but that's not your fault. I mean, it is what it is.
yeah.
And I just don't understand how you could not like Steph Curry. I mean, you could not like his impact on the game, like and how it's changing it,
Right.
but I mean, he himself and him as a player is incredible to watch. I have tuned into more Golden State games just to go. I wonder what Steph's going to do tonight.
Well, right. Well, as long as we're talking about the NBA, let's talk about the rest of the NBA.
Sure.
The only other NBA note that I have, which is that the Los Angeles Lakers signed Anthony Davis to a 3 year contract extension worth $186 million, which is a max contract, making the richest annual contract extension in NBA history. So I guess my question to you is, he's played 60 games a year over his 11-year career,
Right.
which means you're getting him for 3 quarters of a season, and over the last 5 years it's 50, which is just over half a season.
Right.
Is it worth what you're paying? I mean, without him, you're probably screwed. But you could definitely find someone who's less money and might be healthier. I mean,
Right.
I'm sitting here. I was looking at the Anthony Davis um, injury report, and he he's been injured and missed games every season just about since 2012, right? So he had an ankle injury in 2012, and then in 2013 he had a left hand injury, and then in 2014 he had a back injury, and then in 2015 it was a right shoulder injury, and then he was healthy in 2016 and 2017. I think even 2018. Nope, 2016 was a left knee. Sorry, my bad. 2016 was a left knee, and then in 2017 and 18 he's healthy. 2019 he hurt his index finger. In 2020 it was a tailbone. In 21 it was a left calf injury. In 22 it was the left MCL and the right foot.
Mhm.
I mean, every part of his body has been hurt and caused him to miss games at some point over the last 10 years.
Right.
Is that worth a max contract? I don't know. I feel like you're wasting money. You could find a younger guy and push the injuries away, push the injury off on somebody else, because that he's going to get hurt every year, just about.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
The question is, does it matter? Like, if he's out for 20 games, as long as
Well,
he's there for the playoffs, as long as you make the playoffs and he's there for the playoffs,
well, he's not. He's
I
not.
don't know if it matters a ton.
He's not bringing you a crap ton of championships. You got one, right?
1 in 4 years, that ain't bad.
It's not bad, I guess.
We'd,
But
we'd,
if you,
we'd give Dame as Blazers, we'd give Dame a lifetime extension if he won one whenever.
well, how many other superstar players has Dame played with?
Oh, just CJ McCall.
I mean, and that's not if you
And
think
that's a personal
if
superstar.
you think C.J.
I know,
McCollum
I
and LeBron James are the same, yeah, then yeah,
no, but that one title was also the bubble title. Like
true.
it wasn't even just
It was an asterisk title.
it was an asterisk title, and I firmly believe that because Anthony Davis was hurt when the season stopped,
Yeah,
and he wouldn't. It may debatably may or may not have been ready again for the playoffs, may or may not have been effective in the playoffs, but he was hurt when the playoffs stopped and was given 3 months to recover
yeah,
before they then went to a controlled ESPN environment
right.
and created a title scenario. Now everybody else had a chance to get healthy, but
It
I feel like there's only a handful of superstars that get injured every year. He's one of them. I feel like it helped him out more than anybody else. It helped that because that Lakers team was floundering, if I remember right, when it
yeah.
came to its stop. They were
If
hurting.
Here's my question: if you were the general manager of the Lakers, would you have done this?
How much money do I have? Do I have the money for it? Like,
Well,
is it
obviously they
hurting
have
me?
the money for it. They did
Right,
it.
exactly. If it's not hurting me cap wise, Anthony Davis is coming off his best year since the bubble year, right? Which I'll give a little asterisk to, and we'll say maybe we don't even count that, right? So effective shooting percentage wise, he's coming off the best year of his career. You know, his total field goal percentage last year was .563. That's the best year of his career. He shot the ball better than he's ever shot the ball.
Yeah.
He had a fantastic year, and I'm not going to say he went unscathed, but he had a relatively light year in terms of injuries compared to the previous 2 years.
Right.
Right? So he showed a little more durability, a little more longevity. I don't see why not. He is one of the best dual threat weapons. You can play him at center. You can play him at power forward. He can shoot the three. Not so great, but he can shoot the three. He can shoot mid-range jumpers like it's nobody's business. He's hard to argue with.
Okay.
You can't replace him. Just replace him, right? He is essentially two players.
Right.
He's a pretty good center and a damn good small forward mixed into one. And there's not another guy really like him. So when you say like, oh, just go get somebody younger, you have to go get a couple guys younger because this doesn't really exist this way, and that's why he gets hurt.
But for $60 million a year, you could go get a couple younger guys.
But if money's not the concern, then who cares?
Well, you'd be more flexible if you had two guys.
Your other job here as a GM is to keep the existing team happy. So if LeBron wants him around,
that's probably true.
There's something to consider. If your fans want him around, if this guy is third in the league in jersey sales, right? Because this is a business. At the end of the day, you're gonna keep him on your team. You want those Lakers jerseys still selling. You don't want him selling his name with some other team. So. Now you have LeBron and Anthony Davis. You have 2 of the top 10 jersey sales in the whole country sitting on your roster. That's good. So even if you do pay him $60 million, but you recoup $80 million in jersey sales, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Right? He's too valuable in a lot of different ways right now, even when he's hurt. That's the only thing that he's not valuable with is he going to be available all the time?
Yeah.
But last year proved that he made it through entire playoffs last year. Well, I mean, not entire because they only played 2 series, but he made it through the playoffs last year.
Right.
Without any significant injury. I think he left early in one game, but then I think he came back in that game later on. But if anything, he's trending upward in terms of his injury history from the past 2 years over last year. So,
from the last 2 years, but
from the last 2 years on a career as a whole, he's playing less than he's ever played, but he's never been playing a lot. And also now we talked about this the other day. Was he really hurt for some of these? Or is this how you effectively call load management?
Well, in 2016, 17, 2017, 18, he played 75 games both years.
Yeah. So he still never plays 82 games.
No,
even when fully healthy, he doesn't play 82.
And nobody does anymore.
Nobody does anymore.
No.
I'd say if you eliminate those two wild years with New Orleans, his last 2 ditch years, he's sitting there at 64, 67, 68, 61, 56, 62, and then 2 bad years in LA with 36 and 40.
Yeah.
So, but when he's on the court for more than 50 games, you're a playoff team.
I wonder what his. I don't know if they'll even show it. I was gonna say, I wonder what the win rate is when he's on the field or when he's on the court.
That's a good question. There's probably like an advanced statistics.
There somewhere is.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the actual offensive win shares.
Ooh, that's good phrasing.
An estimate of the number of wins contributed by a player due to offense.
Well, it's
And then
It's
there's
harder to
ones for
measure
defense.
defense.
One of them's for defense. One is win shares per 48 minutes, an estimate of the number of wins contributed by a player per 48 minutes.
Yeah.
League average is approximately 0.100, so it's a 100, and he's well above it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The stats are so, like I said, these are made up stats, I swear. These are things that someone has decided this is the metric we're going to use and this is going to be important. But just
Well,
like,
it's hard to figure out
Yeah.
something like that. Like, you know that there's something there.
right,
And I think it's a combination of like 9 stats that you ultimately have to all pool into one
right,
and then assess.
right.
But yeah, it does seem like they just make up stats at random. But no, if
It
you
does.
have the money,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
you're not concerned about your depth because maybe they have people that they've drafted behind him,
Yeah.
that are okay substitutes. You're not concerned about your depth. He's not a bad investment because there is nobody else like him. If you can get the injury thing under control, you can make his body as healthy as possible, and you can get 70 games out of him in a regular season. That'd be nuts. But
Right.
all you really need is 50 and the playoffs. If you can get 50 in the playoffs, you'll be fine. Anthony Davis will be around to make it work for you.
All right.
And then just don't play the Nuggets.
So maybe don't play him the first 20 games of the season.
I'd be more
Just rest him.
keen. I'd be more keen to sit him the last 20 games of the season,
Yeah, I suppose if you've already made the playoffs, but if you're struggling to make the playoffs,
or
at that point. Maybe.
mid 50 games. It's like let him sit the first 15 and the last 15,
Well, since
and then play the middle 50.
I was going to say, since he's only averaging 60 games a season or so, why don't you just, there's 22 games you can just take off. So take off
11 on each side.
just take off 7 3 times a year.
Well, but the thing is, you need him to play in impact games, right? So opening night, big. He's got from a money standpoint, because this is a business, because
Sure.
on opening night you're going to try and schedule a big matchup.
Yeah, but opening night's going to sell itself. Opening if you came out and said none of these stars are playing opening night, then yeah, you might have a problem. But opening night sells itself. It's the opening night.
I hear what you're saying, but I also think that if you say, okay, opening night we're playing Golden State,
Yeah,
that drives a little more.
Sure.
We got a full healthy roster. These people come in, they're obviously excited to watch basketball. They were
Yeah.
going to be that way kind of anyways,
Right.
but now there's a little extra salt on there. There's a little extra fun involved, and that extra fun encourages people to spend more money. But you need them to play Christmas Day. You need them to play New Year's. You need them to play other stuff. You want him to be available for the All-Star break in case he makes the All-Star thing. So there's times when you need to play him and times when you don't need to play him, and it's kind of scattered throughout. So I'd give him 2 games off here and there.
Okay.
I'd wait till they played an Eastern Conference opponent, and I'd on like a road trip, and I'd be like, hey, he's gonna take the first 2 games off of this road trip.
Okay. So all right. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it works out. We'll see how many games he plays this year. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Now that his money's in the bag, the extension's
Right.
in the bag. A lot of guys have an off year after the extension gets signed, just because. Just saying.
Well, if you just look at his stats, he signed that massive contract with the Lakers,
Yeah.
and then immediately won a title and had one of his best years. Now it was a bubble year, and we both mentioned how we feel about that.
Yeah.
But in theory, he didn't drop off last time he signed a contract.
I suppose. I guess that's true. I mean, but
in theory,
as a Laker, since he's been with the Lakers, you're paying him to play 40 something games a year. That's what you're paying him for. That's what that's what you're going to get regular season. You're going to get about 48, 49 games a year. And
well, the question is, when did he what's how many postseason games is he playing in a year is the next question, because if he's playing in a decent amount of postseason games, because they're getting to the postseason, I know they've missed it for a year though, right? Or 2 years.
Yeah,
because they made it in the bubble and they play. So obviously that's 14 games or whatever it is.
It's tricky so let's see, if you go playoffs. So let's see, he's played in the playoffs 5 times. Okay,
right.
2 with New Orleans, 3 with the Lakers. And I guess, I don't know, one of those years they didn't make the playoffs is my guess.
Yeah.
So he's playing in most of the games, most of the playoff games, if not all, for the Lakers. 21 playoff games in 1920 when they won the title, right? COVID year.
Right.
And then 5 games the next season.
Yeah.
And then last year, 16 games.
Yeah.
So that's got to be all of the games. So he's playing in all of the playoff games. My question is, how can you be healthy when the playoffs roll around, but you're not healthy any other time of the year? I don't understand.
Because it might not be an actual injury. The other day we talked about this,
I know.
and you were like, oh, they lied.
That's
well, what if they're just lying now?
We're calling it out there.
I know, but it's like sometimes we sit here and doubt the integrity of what they're saying, but at other times we're saying, oh, well, he's definitely injured. Well, maybe it's just like a little knee tweak, and he's like, ah, crap, I could use a day. They're like, take 10.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's probably true.
Also, last time he signed a contract was the 16 season, and that was when he played 75 games the next year and had one of his best years. So every time he signs a contract, he seems to have a good year.
Well, we'll find out.
Money does not make him fat and happy, at least historically, based on his last 2 contracts.
We'll learn more.
It's true.
All right. So let's talk about a couple other things. So how about the Major League Baseball? Here's my Major League Baseball excitement, if you want to call it that. The MASN network, which is the network that covers the Baltimore Orioles and the Washington Nationals, actually owned by both those teams, suspended Orioles announcer Kevin Brown after his pregame statement. Let's call it that. Pregame, he was. It's a graphic that came up, and he was talking about the Orioles' struggles to win at Tropicana Field in Tampa. Baltimore is 1-15-1 in its last 17, or was in his last 17 series there before this year, right? 1-17-1. So or 1-15-1. So in 17 series, they've won 1. They hadn't won a series since 2017 until this year. That series where he was mentioning how bad they were, they actually won that series. From 2020 to 2022, they won 3 and lost 18 games in Tropicana Field. So that's 3 out of 21. But they did win that series this year, and they've won 5 games this year in Tampa. So they're playing better. But anyway, he was suspended. Apparently, the ownership of the Orioles took offense to the comments that Brown made, and then he has since returned to the announcer's booth, and he defended the relationship he has with the Orioles ownership. There's got to be something more to this. There has to be something else that happened, because in order for you to have that statistic and have a graphic up and talk about it on TV, the whole production crew has to be involved, right?
In theory.
He didn't make the graphic and throw it up himself and say, "Hey guys, don't fact check this or look at it. Just display it during the broadcast." Somebody somewhere had to have seen it. So it's not just him that came up with this and said this was good to lead with. So if they're just offended by the fact that their team sucks in Tampa, this is a problem. There's got to be something else, right?
In theory.
I heard something from an unreliable source that let me preface it with that. But what I heard was he may have said some colorful comments about the city of Tampa in pregame stuff that was not in keeping with.
Like not on the air, you mean?
Well, I was told that it was recorded, but if it's been recorded, there's nowhere to find it. It's not available. You cannot find anything.
Well, then it
anywhere.
might just be the kind of thing where like he's sitting in front of the mic talking.
Could have been
talk, but not like on air.
Right, and that's what
because it's always recording. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's nothing you can say on a TV broadcast or a radio broadcast that isn't recorded when it's on. That somewhere in the world somebody's not recording. Somebody has that. If you said it on air, someone has it. There's just no way around it. And if you said what supposedly was said, what he said about the city of Tampa, was non-flattering. And so maybe, and if you said that on air and somebody somewhere has a recording of it and they would have played it, you'd be able to find it on the internet. And you can't. You just can't find it. So either the MASN network is really good at covering crap up, or he didn't actually say it on the air but said it prior to air or in a rehearsal or in a whatever. I mean, pre-stuff. I don't know. Pre-recording. I don't know. But there's got to be something that we're not hearing. There has to be. I don't know what it is. It would be nice to know.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, right? Like at this point, it could be nothing. The fact that matters is that he came out afterward was like, "Oh no, everything's fine."
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, "Is it?" Because this seems really unfair.
It doesn't.
No,
seem
it's fine. Please don't look into it.
Yeah. That's exactly what it sounded like. And the fact that the Orioles originally said he's not suspended. Well, then why isn't he on the air? Well, we didn't suspend him. That's not what are you talking about?
See, I said yesterday when we were briefly talking about this, I was like, what if everyone's out here thinking that, the Orioles are ridiculous and Kevin Brown deserves better. And I'm like, what if the Orioles were trying to protect him in some way?
And maybe
what if he was drunk on the air or something like that?
And if the comments that he made, that the ones I heard today, If that's true, and I'm not going to repeat it because it's terrible, but if he did say something like that, then they were probably trying to protect him.
He should be suspended.
You should have been, yeah. But I don't know. I can't find it anywhere, and if there's no record of it, then I don't understand. I mean, there's plenty of people, broadcast personalities on air who have opinions about cities or players or whatever that are less than flattering and probably downright um,
I've got opinions about
racist Tampa. Or rude or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, it's
hard to say without the audio.
It is hard to say.
If
There's
there
no
is
physical
any audio.
If is good.
Also, I thought about this yesterday, and I said, what if he was drunk on the air? And then I was like, isn't that what people used to do? Like, didn't sports announcers
right
just get drunk and watch sports?
Right.
Like, I've seen so many videos of baseball announcers, or I've read stories about old baseball announcers and things like that from the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah.
And they're just slamming bourbon while they watch baseball.
You ever see
How else are you supposed to make it through that game?
You ever watch Brockmire?
Yes. Same
right?
concept.
Yeah. One hit. We only got one goddamn hit. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it's weird. I would like to know more about it because something happened. And it wasn't because he put up a graphic saying you suck in Tampa, because it's not the only place the Orioles have sucked. So it can't possibly be that you were upset that your team had historically been bad there, because you were in first place in the division this year.
Right.
At the time. Why would you? I don't even understand. All right. Let's talk about Women's World Cup real quick. United States women's national team was knocked out of the Women's World Cup in the round of 16. Everybody probably knows that by now. By Sweden. Match was scoreless through 120 minutes. That's regulation plus extra time. And then Sweden won 5-4 in penalty kicks. It was the earliest exit from a Women's World Cup by the United States ever. They scored just 3 goals in 4 matches. It was Megan Rapinoe's last go-around before she retired. And after the loss, Julie Ertz also announced her retirement. This was a team that was supposed to dominate, and they just looked bad at times. Not bad. Not like bad, but not, I mean, when you expect a team to be really, really good and they can't score a goal, you look bad. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Yeah. So that being said, the Women's World Cup has the semifinals now. Sweden's going to play Australia in one semifinal on Saturday, and if you're up at 1 a.m. Pacific, that's what time it's on. And Spain takes on England in the other semifinal on Sunday at 3 a.m. Great for Australia. The Australia-New Zealand hosting this, and Australia's in the semifinals. That's fantastic. They're breaking records in terms of ticket sales and yeah. Anyway, but is it better without the United States in it, dominating it? Yes, right?
For who?
For everybody. For the sport.
If you ask any true-blooded Republican, the answer is absolutely. These women needed to be humbled or something like that. The amount of crappy comments that I have read online for people who are like, "Oh, thank God."
They're upset about the pay thing.
That's what you get when you don't like America. Okay.
Yeah. Well.
No, I don't think so, because I think the U.S. women's national team, no matter where you sit in the world, I think that they were one of the most fun teams to watch. Now, they weren't fun this year. No. They weren't scoring this year.
Yeah, I can't score.
Scoring's part of the fun, but in the past, you were watching them put up 4 or 5 goals a game, and it was beautiful looking.
Right.
So if you're saying, is it better with or without them? It would be better with them if they were like they were last time.
Right.
But the way they were this time, no, this would have been boring. I assume they would have kept winning games 1-0 or 0-0 ties that go to penalty kicks.
Penalty kicks.
So it's not fun.
Penalty kicks is terrible. I mean, I like it. No, don't get me wrong. No, that's not what I mean. I like penalty kicks. It's a terrible way to have to settle a game because anything can happen. It's one kick from one player 5 times, right? But it's one kick from one player. It's not like they get a whole bunch of shots on goal. They get one. And if something's just not right, one blade of grass, their cleat slips just a hair, whatever. There's a drop of sweat on the shoe and it goes sideways. Something goes squidgy. You miss it, right?
Yeah.
And now your team is in a world of hurt because you're the best player in the world and you missed your penalty kick. And,
So here's a fun fact about penalty kicks, though.
Yeah.
Only 11% of penalty kicks are saved.
Sounds about right.
85% are made and 4% are shanked.
Shankopotamus.
So Only 11%. So that means you're going to save 1 out of 10. That is an all. Like, if you were any other major sport, you would fix that because that is an awful ratio of conversion. Like the NFL is considered getting rid of onside kicks because it's such a low percentage.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we even do it? Well, why do we even put a goalie in the net? Let's make them net like half the size, a quarter of the size.
There you go. Make them shoot
and make you stand 20 yards further back.
I get it. I like the idea.
And that would be way more exciting and challenging than actually shooting past a goalkeeper.
I like that idea that if you had like an arc instead of that box, if you had like an arc that the offense couldn't go inside.
Ooh,
so all the shots have to come from outside the arc, but the defense can go inside it and block from inside. You can use, as long as you don't use your hands, you can block a goal. It would make it more interesting.
I just thought the idea of like if it's the goal's not flat on the ground, the goal's tilted back, so you actually have to put it up in the air.
You got to lob it in.
Yeah, you have to lob it in, and you do it from 20 yards farther back. It would all make it 1,000 times more interesting because watching penalty kicks is, don't get me wrong, when a save happens, it's exciting.
It is
because it never happens.
Right.
Because half the time you watch your goalkeeper just jump the wrong way entirely,
or not move and just goes right on by. Yeah.
No one addresses how stupid that looks.
It does.
Like I watched I can't remember what game it was, but I watched the goalkeeper miss all 5. Well, yeah. I guess it was technically, it was all 5, and then the other team missed 4 of them. So and every time it was like they just leapt the entirely wrong way.
Yeah, but like, you have to guess.
What is the point?
You have to guess because you don't.
So I was talking with our goalkeeping coach.
Yeah,
not entirely guessing.
Well,
it's
reading
a
body cues.
It's a marginal amount of guessing, but it's not. No, it's a large amount of guessing, but
not
entirely.
You're gonna read the person's body cues. Plus, you have tendencies.
You watch loads of film on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know who the penalty kick takers are going to be on the other team. There's only 3 or 4 guys who are going to take a penalty kick. Usually maybe less than that, 1 or 2. So if a penalty kick happens, this is the guy who's going to take it. Here's where he normally likes to kick it, right?
Yeah.
Historically, 80% of them are low left. And then and then that's where you're going to kind of guess. You're going to read his body, but that's where you're going to kind of lean towards because that's what he's, Anyway, there's a science to it, but it's still, in the end, it is a guess.
Despite all that science, all that research and everything, only 11%.
Yeah, you're not stopping a lot of them, so that's true.
Yeah, because all it takes me one time is going, I kicked it left the last 4 times. I think I'm going to kick it right this time.
That's exactly what happens, too. Some dude whispered in his ear, dude, you kicked it right last time. Kick it left. No, they'll be expecting that. I'm going to kick it right again.
They know that I know that they know that I kicked it left.
Right. They know we have Marshawn Lynch in the backfield. They're going to be ready for it.
Ready for it.
Jeez Louise. I don't know.
That was second down, by the
way. It doesn't matter. It was just a bad call. We all know. Let's talk about the WNBA for a minute. And we did a little bit earlier, but let's talk about it again. Expansion. Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, has mentioned in a report that we're the longest tenured women's professional sports league in the United States by a long stretch. And we should have more teams. That being said, where are they looking to go is the question. Well, there's a number of teams out there, a number of cities out there that they're talking about in terms of places they could go. Denver's one of those cities.
Sure.
Right? There you go. Portland's one of those cities. Nashville, Philadelphia, right?
I don't understand why you'd ever put a WNBA team in any sort of overly conservative area.
Here's I think this is what they're thinking. Let me finish this. There was Philadelphia, there was Austin, Texas, and then the Bay Area also. San Francisco, Oakland. So I think that the thought process right now is here's where soccer has been successful. Nashville, Austin, Portland. The teams that are there are loved. And I think where soccer has been successful is what they're kind of targeting at the moment. I don't think it has to do with anything other than that. Nashville embraces soccer. They have a brand new MLS team, right? Like last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. They're not that old. Austin,
but you're not talking about a women's soccer team. You're talking about a basketball team.
I understand.
You're talking about a women's basketball team
that
is routinely flamed on every social media platform for
I-
why do these women want so much money. Blah, 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 blah. You see what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
you think that guy's gonna come out and buy a ticket to the Nashville whatever game?
No,
The Portland people will.
no. But the people in Nashville are not going to the soccer games either. That guy that you're talking about is not going to any MLS game.
Uh,
He's
see
going,
that see
but he
that
might
I
go to a
don't know
basketball
about.
game.
That I no. See that I don't know about. Like I think there's some different kinds of fans here. I think these are two completely different fan bases. You're talking about an attached basketball fan base adopting. See, this is why when we talk about
I'm
where
not.
should they go,
Hold
I
on.
think they should go to a city that has an existing basketball team, so that way they can try and mooch off that fan base.
They're already
Nashville
doing
doesn't
that.
have a basketball team.
Nope.
You're going to put in a women's basketball team at a time when women's basketball and pay is controversial, especially in those conservative areas. That's not a good idea. You could do Austin just fine. It's a super liberal town. There's plenty of places. You could do Portland. They literally have a place called the Sports Bra, which is a bar for women's sports only. That city is going to be just fine supporting that team. But why would you go to Charlotte? Charlotte's they're not gonna show out surprisingly well for it. I don't think so. I feel like you need to stick to your extremely liberal cities to make this work.
I don't know. They're not doing that necessarily already. I mean,
well, there's some historically set ones that are being funded by the NBA teams.
so
Those are the ones you have problems with.
So they have 12. They have 12 teams right now. Nine of them are in cities where there's an NBA team, and the 3 of them are not.
Which are the 3?
The Las Vegas Aces.
Right. That one's fine. They won a title after they cheated. Yeah.
The Seattle Storm.
Yep, that makes sense.
And the Connecticut Sun.
Connecticut has a large women's basketball history.
Absolutely, for college, right?
So yeah. So that's just going to women's basketball. That's
right.
just going to transition just fine.
Right.
I wouldn't worry about that one. Las Vegas is a tourist town, and it's all glitz and glamour, and them getting new teams is all the thing right now.
Right.
So I don't think that's. And Seattle's one of those super super wildly liberal cities.
So then, of those cities that they named, you're saying that it should be what? Denver, Portland, Austin,
San Francisco. Austin would be good. Philly's even kind of a tough sell because those fans are brutal, but I think you could make it work there. What I'm trying to think here is which of these places is going to give the most independence to the team, or how much are they going to have to rely on their NBA counterparts to keep going?
Is there a better city than the ones that are named here? Is there a better place to put
Not one that doesn't already have a team. Like anytime you think of a place where you might want to put one, you go like, oh, Chicago, they got one. Oh, well, LA, they got one. Oh, Atlanta, they've got one. So it's like there's not really a lot of other places. You might be able to do Miami. Does Miami have one? I don't think.
Nope.
Miami could probably use one. I feel like you'd get a lot of support down there.
Yeah. What about? I mean, I'm thinking of places that historically used to have NBA teams and don't have them anymore. Kansas City, St. Louis. I don't know. You could throw one in, or maybe you could throw one up north. Milwaukee, who has an NBA team, right? And they do a lot of indoor. But the problem is that WNBA is over the summer, which when you're in the north central United States, coming inside to watch things is not what you do, because you only have it's cold most of the winter, so you're going to go outside to do things in the summer. That's what I'm getting at. So it's a different. I don't know. You got to take that into account somewhat, but
I just don't think that. I don't think it would be a smart, like even Denver. I don't think Denver's. I think it'd be a fun city for it, but if they're not owned by the Nuggets franchise,
right?
I don't think so. Denver's got a lot of pretty conservative ties, and I think that you're gonna get a lot of people not boycotting. That's not how that works, but it's gonna catch more heat than it's gonna catch praise.
Right.
I think you need to go to a city, or some of these cities, that are just going to instinctually give them praise because of what they are. Portland will love a women's basketball team because it's a women's basketball team.
Yeah, probably.
Doesn't really matter if it's good. The Portland Thorns still sell half the seats to that stadium. And don't get me wrong, they've been good. So there's that. But they still have the seats to that stadium just on principle alone, Get out there and support the teams. I don't think you're going to catch that in like a Nashville. I don't think you're going to get that in a Charlotte. I think you're going to get more heat than credit, which, at the end of the day, you're going to make the decision you got to make. But if you got to move your team later on, don't say you didn't listen to the Best Lamm Sports Show.
Right. What about Houston? Or
Houston would be interesting. I think any city with too many sports
Maybe.
is also kind of a problem.
What about New Orleans?
New Orleans, I think, would be good because right now they're riding a whole wave of female LSU players,
Yeah.
and it's a whole buzzing thing down there. So that would actually be a good spot for it.
And I think somewhere in the South, because you got Atlanta in the South, right?
Yeah.
And Dallas is, I guess, what we're going to call that South.
Yeah.
This is West Southwest.
Yeah.
Nowhere else in the Southeast has a team. So,
Yeah, I think you could do Miami.
I think Miami would work if you did that, or Tampa, or somewhere like. But Miami would be a big market if you brought Miami in.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. Or one of those other southeastern. I mean, what about putting a team in like Knoxville?
No.
Well, you
Too
say
small.
no, but that's a gigantic women's basketball community.
Knoxville doesn't have just the general resources to deal with it. So first of all, where are you going to play it, right? Thompson Bowling, probably.
Probably in
So you're going
summer.
to play it there. So now you have to contract with the University of Tennessee. I hear
Sure.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Students go to school all year round, practice all year round.
I get
So
it.
now you're going to contract with the University of Tennessee to use a college stadium for a pro team. That look is not good.
Okay.
That looks like you're an amateur organization. You want to be contracted with a pro sports stadium or a stadium that doesn't have a sports team in it, and that's where you'll play. If you're playing in college stadiums, you get the impression of the what is it, the USFL playing in Birmingham, and it's like, okay, that's a subpar stadium. You're not a real league. Like it creates doubt. You want to avoid that.
Okay.
You need to go to a major city, and because they have to have a market to support it. If in Knoxville on any given day they'd rather go watch baseball, college baseball, than go watch women's. Not that they're existing at the same time, but if they'd rather go do that than women's basketball, that's not a great deal for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's too many college sports in a college town. I would not put it in a designated college town.
I don't know. Well, they did that with UConn, with Connecticut. So
yeah, but that's the unique scenario of a town that thrives on nothing but
they don't have anything
women's
else.
basketball.
They don't have anything else.
Right. There's nothing else there. So I mean, that in that case it worked, but I wouldn't put it to work in most places.
All right. I'm just saying.
We'll call it the exception to the rule, not the rule.
I'm just saying. There's a lot of cities out there, and there's a lot of places where
cities.
women's basketball at the college level is big.
Well, so I don't know what there are stadium requirements for them. Like, do you have to have a certain size stadium
Probably.
to be in the WNBA?
Maybe.
Do you have to have certain sponsors? What if one of the main sponsors of the WNBA is, I don't know, El Jimador Tequila? Can you put those signs up around Thompson Bowling? Is that
That's
okay?
True. That's a good point.
Like, it's just tough. That's why other than UConn, and actually, do they actually play at UConn Stadium?
No, they built a stadium. That's the whole thing. Is they built a stadium and they were playing arena football and lacrosse in there and all kinds of things. But
so they built like a multi-purpose stadium
correct.
And used it for a bunch.
10,000 seat stadium.
That's how I feel
huge.
like a lot of these teams start. Is they start at like a multi-purpose stadium,
right?
And then they kind of either build their own or something, or they share the stadium with the pros. In Nashville, where are you going to play at the Sommet Center? Or what is it, Bridgestone Arena? I don't know what it's called now.
Bridgestone. I think it's shit. I don't know what it's called now.
It was Bridgestone, or no, it was Sommet, and then became Bridgestone. I don't know. But like, where are you gonna play there? Are you gonna share Vanderbilt Stadium? That weird stadium? Like,
yeah. I mean,
I don't know where you're gonna put, because you want to be in the heart of Nashville. You don't want to be in Murfreesboro,
right?
So where are you going to play? I don't know. Austin's a good one. There's a lot of stadiums there.
It was the GEC originally, the Gaylord Entertainment Center for
That's right.
Yeah. Nashville Arena originally before it was the but it's been there for a long time. It's just they change its names regularly.
Yeah.
But like every
you could do the Sommet Center or whatever it's called. You could do that because hockey doesn't start until October.
Yeah.
You'll be long done before that, and so that would work. But also, what about your concerts and things like that? That you've got your summer tour series. Taylor Swift did 4 days in Nashville for her Eras tour. Are you going to cancel any one of those for a women's basketball game? I don't think so.
Nah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I don't know.
You need a little bit of infrastructure. So like Denver would be good in the aspect that if you partnered with KSE, the Kroenke Sports Entertainment, you could play at Ball Arena.
Right.
That would be good. We also have another stadium here where the Nuggets used to play. That is a big multi-purpose stadium.
Right.
That works just fine. Portland's fine because you could do the Rose Garden or the Vet.
The W. Well, that's true. The Memorial Coliseum is probably.
Yeah,
But the WNBA regular season ends in September, September 10th. So it's just around
perfect.
the corner.
Perfect. So you're not competing with NBA. You're
Nope.
not competing with WHL or not
Yeah.
WHL, HL. Um, but yeah, so I think that's kind of a tough one. I think you want to go to a place that has both the infrastructure to support a pro team existing, so they probably already need to have one, and then you need to have a fan base that is going to be committed to women's sports
Yeah.
without kind of question.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, Portland had a women's roller ring team for a long time.
Yeah.
You like they actually managed to support that for like 15 years.
Yeah. I don't know.
If any place, I think if on the short list, Portland is probably the place that deserves it the most. And then behind that, I actually really liked Austin. I think that would be a really cool place for it because of they have a bunch of stadiums that you could use, or San Francisco.
Yeah. All right.
But if it comes to Denver, I'll go.
All right. Okay. Well, let's talk about. Let's see. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about college football? Or you want to talk about the NFL?
Let's go NFL next.
Okay, let's go NFL next.
Da-da-da.
Right. So NFL preseason's underway. All 32 teams have played a game. By the way, week 2 games start tomorrow. Cleveland at Philly on the NFL Network tomorrow night. I think it's like 4:30 Pacific time. Not that it matters. Just throwing it out there. Did you watch the Hall of Fame game? Did you watch preseason week 1?
I did.
Okay. Did you
As
watch
much of it as possible.
Right, it's hard to catch it all. It's over like 4 different days.
I
right?
had a wedding this weekend, so I
Oh,
was
that's
busy
true.
on some days, but I watched all of the Hall of Fame game. I watched all of the Broncos game. I watched the Seattle game.
Right.
I watched as much as humanly possible.
Are you interested in watching backup quarterbacks play against second string
Yeah,
defenses? I mean, is that I mean,
yeah.
okay.
So here's what I would think, right? So we've talked about this before. One of the things we talked about was that I think preseason is important because it shows you how hard a lot of guys are willing to work. You see incredible catches and incredible runs and things like that in preseason. And on the one hand, you could go, well, that's because the defenses are terrible. But on the other hand, you could
Yeah.
go, well, that's because this guy's trying really hard
Right.
because he wants to make a roster. But that being said, I like the emphasis um, on trying these other players, right? I liked seeing backup quarterbacks in there. I like seeing what's his name from Georgia. Oh my gosh, Bennett. I
Stetson
like
Bennett.
seeing Stetson Bennett play. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, and he had an incredible preseason debut. It was
He was
not
pretty
bad.
good.
Yeah. So I like it. I think preseason's valuable, and I don't. Yeah, it's not as entertaining as a regular season because you know the games don't count.
Right.
That's like it literally just knocks off 20% of the excitement just right there. But that still means that there's still a lot of excitement left.
And to be fair, Cleveland Browns played in that Hall of Fame game. Dorian Thompson Robinson from UCLA. He looked really good.
Yeah, he did.
Also watched. Oh gosh, dang it! Now I lost who I was going to think. Who I was going to say. That also looked good. Rookie quarterback. But anyway, there was some stuff. I mean, I watch some games and I watch a lot of highlights of things, and then I don't see all of every game obviously because it's just impossible. There's too much stuff going on. I have another job,
Right.
but it's fun to watch to a point. But I got to. Oh, Drew Lock also had a great preseason game. Really,
It wasn't bad.
for
Yeah.
Seattle. Let's talk about this guy. Ezekiel Elliott is now a Patriot.
Wait, hold on. Before we talk about him,
Oh no.
there's something from the preseason that happened. I tried calling you immediately after it happened because I'd never heard it before.
Okay.
There were 2 penalties, one on the Jets and one on the
Cleveland.
Browns,
Yeah.
and the referee came out and said there are 2 penalties, one on each team. Penalty, it was offsides, or no, it wasn't offsides. It was some sort of 5-yard penalty on the offense, and it was a 10-yard penalty on the defense. And he said by rule, the 10-yard penalty was more and results in a first down. And I tried calling you immediately because we have talked about this for years. He didn't do these penalties offset. He gave preference to the one that was worth more. I
Yeah.
had never heard that before in my life, and I can't find any official rule change.
No, there probably isn't. There's a way that you can do that if if certain. Hmm, hang on, I'm looking to see what happened.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was the weirdest thing. I had not heard it since because there was an offsetting penalty in the Broncos game, and it was just offsetting despite one being worth more. So I don't know if they were just testing it for the Hall of Fame game or what, but man, it threw me for a loop.
it doesn't really say. It doesn't really talk about it happening. They can't find mention of it anywhere. So I didn't see it happen, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so there's a there I in the rule book, not all penalties are offsetting. Obviously, dead ball fouls, for example, don't offset. A dead ball foul is an add-on, right? So if there's a dead ball foul that happens and a live play foul, you have to enforce both.
Is that right?
That's correct because dead ball foul is if they both happen in the run of play, then obviously they're going to be offsetting. Um, I personally think that it should be based on the yardage.
Oh, here
And
it is. Here it is. 3rd and 1 at the Cleveland 46.
okay,
Kellen Mond passed short right to Jay Kelly, pushed out of bounds at the New York Jets 35 for 19 yards. Penalty on the Jets, unnecessary roughness, 15 yards. Enforced at Cleveland 46. Penalty on Cleveland, illegal formation, superseded. So this was a unnecessary roughness superseded an illegal formation.
so I don't what was the unnecessary roughness? Did they hit the quarterback? Was it hit out of bounds? Was
I
it
think I think it was I don't know if that matters, does it?
yeah? Well, kind of.
Well, the
Um,
penalty's the penalty, whether it's a 15-yard penalty, it doesn't matter if it's a pop on the quarterback or a late hit. But they didn't call late hit; they called unnecessary roughness. So
right,
I'm assuming it was a hit on the quarterback. But I don't think it matters. The bottom line is they took a 15-yard personal foul
right, and
and they
enforced it.
superseded an
Right.
illegal formation. I've never seen that happen.
Yeah. So personal fouls, like I was trying to say, usually what happens when a dead ball foul happens, it's a personal foul. That's usually what happens. It's unnecessary roughness. It's unsportsmanlike conduct. It's whatever. Those are always going to be enforced. Always. No
But
matter
is
what happens.
unnecessary roughness a dead ball foul?
It depends on when it happened. Late hit out of
Well,
bounds is unnecessary roughness.
I think late hit. Well, so, is late hit unnecessary roughness? I don't think they're the same.
Unnecessary roughness is a general term for any contact that happens. How do I explain that? um, here,
I'm trying to figure it out.
let's get the unnecessary roughness penalty, personal foul, number of actions. Yeah, if you make a illegal contact head or neck area of a defenseless player, that's unnecessary roughness.
But that's not dead ball. That's during play.
That one is, but it's a personal foul, and so a personal foul is almost always going to get enforced. I don't know that there's a way to take away a personal foul, regardless of the foul on the other team, because a personal foul has to be enforced. You can't ignore a personal foul. Personal fouls count more than a regular foul for whatever reason. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Um, I'd have to see it and I'd have to hear their explanation for it. Um, but there's a way. I mean, yeah, it's I don't know. Personal fouls are different. They're treated differently than regular fouls, and most of them occur when it's dead ball. Not all of them, because you can get unnecessary roughness if you do that, hit somebody in the head. In college, it ends up being targeting, right? But they don't have a targeting rule in the NFL.
Okay, so I guess here's the thing from 2016. Somebody posted on Reddit and said, "Hey, in the NFL, personal foul, 15-yard penalty, and a 5-yard infraction do not offset. However, a personal foul and a 10-yard penalty would."
That could be.
That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense to me either.
That doesn't make any sense.
But it could be. I mean, there's probably a justification. Somebody somewhere has written a reason why that's happened, but I don't know. I don't understand why that's
Well,
a
because
thing.
is holding considered a personal foul?
No.
Interesting. I have no clue.
So, Rule 12, Section 2, Article 8, which is unnecessary roughness in the NFL rulebook. If a player uses any part of his helmet or face mask to butt, spear, or ram an opponent violently or unnecessarily, forcibly hitting the defenseless player's head, neck, or face with the helmet or face mask, regardless of whether the defensive player, lowering the head and violently or unnecessarily making forcible contact with the hairline or forehead part of the helmet against any part of the defenseless player's body, launching, right? If you launch, you're springing forward and upward into a
Right.
defenseless player. Yeah, so that's the majority of unnecessary roughness anymore.
Okay.
is illegal contact of some kind. Um, if you, gosh, yeah, if you grab the opening of the helmet and forcibly twist, turn, or pull his head.
Right.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
what most of them are. It's
Yeah.
just it's strange. I'm just trying to figure it out. I had never
So-
heard it before. I've been watching football for a long time. I've never heard
Right. So the reason
penalties that don't offset.
So the reason for this is the penalty for unnecessary roughness is 15 yards, right?
Right.
But you can also just be disqualified. And
Right.
because the player can be disqualified for the action, it has to be enforced. You can't make it a offsetting penalty.
I got you.
Yeah. Right.
Like
You don't see it very
however
often.
many years of watching football,
Yeah, you
I've
don't-
never don't see it very often. I've never seen it. I've never heard about it.
I've seen it before.
I always thought that they just offset.
I've seen it before, but I don't remember what the situation was. It's been a while. It doesn't happen. Like I said, it doesn't happen but once in a blue moon. So odds are you don't see
That
it very
explains
often.
why I probably missed it. But it happened on like the 5th play of the game. And I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah. If you hit the snapper, the long snapper, in the knee with your helmet during a field goal or a kick try. That's also I'm like, what? Taking the snapper out at the knees?
Well, the
Of
snapper
course.
is not allowed to get up and block unless the
Yeah,
what's it called
he's a
becomes a runner.
He's a protected player now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, which is smart because in the if you go back 30 years, they were just hammering the center because he's got one job to do, and that's snap the ball. And after that, his head's down and his body's in a weird position, and
Yeah.
it's not like a snap to a quarterback. It's a long snap, which takes a little extra
And,
time.
and we have the 1930s and 40s to thank for CTE studies
absolutely.
because those
close-
idiots were playing in leather helmets and just clotheslining each other.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Ezekiel Elliott.
Let's briefly talk about Ezekiel Elliott.
He's gonna be a New England Patriot. Does it matter? Is he worth anything?
Yes.
Okay. Is it
He's
going to make New
good.
England better?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't cut anybody to put him on there, so yeah.
Okay. No, the reason I asked that is because they're playing in a division which is going to have a Jets roster that looks to be very good.
That
The
just
Miami
got Dalvin
Dolphins.
Cook,
Yeah, that we're going to talk about. Yeah. And the Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Does it matter? Are they good enough? If you add Ezekiel Elliott to what they had last year, they didn't give up anything. Great. Are they going to be anywhere near competitive with those other three teams?
Their defense is always competitive, so yes, they are always the Patriots are always competitive. It doesn't matter if their offense is meh. That's the only thing that ever holds them back. And since Tom Brady left, they've still been able to put out like top 5 defenses every year, and they're still up there. And their bad seasons are winning like 8 games.
Well, yeah, they won 8 last year.
This is an improvement. Absolutely. I mean, it improves even if he's not your starter, even if he's the backup to your starter. He's an improvement. But also, the one thing we found is that Bill Belichick can get production out of any running back. It doesn't matter who it is. What are White was the name of one of their running backs, right? He was a running back for 2 years, can't sign a contract anywhere else, yet was an all-world player for like a couple years with him. If anybody's going to pull production out of running backs, it's going to be Bill Belichick.
So, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm with you. What I'm trying to say is that maybe the New England Patriots, let's see, over the last 3 seasons, right, are 7-9, 10-7, and 8-9.
Okay.
So they're averaging about 8 wins. Okay. So that's where they're at. That's the team they are. They're an 8-win team. They're not Tom Brady's 12-win, 11 wins a season.
Gotcha,
They are
yeah.
since they lost Tom Brady, they have fallen 3 or 4 games a season down on average.
Sure.
So they're not nearly what they used to be.
Yeah, but that's also in combination with Josh Allen now being a Buffalo Bill and that team getting remarkably better year over year.
But I'm also
that's 2 losses a year you weren't accounting for 4 years ago, with or without Tom Brady.
But I'm also looking at the Jets, who went from 2 wins to 4 wins to 7 wins over the last 3 seasons, and now have Aaron Rodgers, also being competitive.
But your question is, does this make the Patriots better? Yes. Does it give them a better shot to win the division? In theory, will they? No.
Okay. That's
That's
what.
those
But
those are
then
those are the
then they're
tiers
not
of
any
what
better.
those no they you can be better. They can be a 12-win team and not win the division and not get a wild card spot.
They're
Like it could still happen. And that does that mean they're not better? No, they definitely got better. It just doesn't matter towards the division. Now that being said, when this team comes to play your team, when they go to Miami, who I think is a little overrated, or when they go to the Broncos to play, that could easily cost us.
sure.
Ezekiel Elliott is better than the running back they have. I don't think Ezekiel Elliott's a top 10 running back, but he's better than Ramondre Stevens.
Well, probably.
Exactly. So they improved at running back.
I guess. Yeah.
Now, whether or not that results in you winning your division, that's a whole other story. That division is much better than it used to be. But
Okay.
it's just but I can't I'm not going to discredit the move because it's a good move. You got the cap space. You might as well improve the position. Although I would have taken Dalvin Cook over him personally.
Well, yeah.
If you had the choice, yeah.
I feel like Ezekiel Elliott's his best seasons are behind him now. So
It seems that way. But
Yeah.
that being said, even at 80%, he's still better than a lot of running backs out there.
well, I mean, he played in 15 games last year. He averages 3.8 yards a carry. You can get that out of anyone. Anybody in the NFL can give you that number. 800
Really?
yards. Oh, absolutely.
The Broncos weren't able to get that out of Melvin Gordon.
Well, the Broncos couldn't get a play in.
It's true.
So
it's true.
there's a little
The
bit of difference.
Seahawks for years haven't been able to get that out of DJ Dallas and Rashad Penny.
If you had one guy, well, how many? Okay, I guess we need to look at the rushing numbers forever, but I don't have that number in front of me. But I'm just saying, if you gave a guy, he played in 15 games and he carried the ball 231 times, 876 yards. Anybody who's carried the ball 231 times in the NFL probably got you 800 yards, 750, 800 yards. That's probably right, because
Right.
you don't have to be great to get it anymore. You don't have to be a great running back to get 1,000 yards in the NFL. There's 17 games. Right? So you only need how many yards a game to get 1,000 yards if you play in all the games? You need 50 something, 40 something.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe it's 60, not quite 60, quite 50 something. You gotta have like 50 something yards a game. I don't know. I feel like that's if some guy said, hey, yeah, I average 60 yards a game, and you'd be like, oh, you're a 1,000-yard rusher. You wouldn't normally put those two together. That used to be the gold standard for running backs in the NFL. It's not anymore. They play way too many games, and first of all, they pass all the time, so it's taking away a lot of, there's a lot more passes than there are runs, I think, now than there used to be.
Right.
It's a passing league. So if a guy gets you 750, 800 yards a season, I think you're doing all right. But this is a guy who had 1,600, 1,400, 1,357 yards. 876 last year was the lowest of his career. And that includes a season in 2017 when he only played in 10 games for Dallas. I think he was suspended. Right. And he almost had 1,000 yards that year. So I just feel like maybe he's not that guy. You didn't need this addition. Like, you're going to spend money on him, and I don't know how much it cost him. I don't know have the number in front of me, but I don't know. I don't know.
But the thing is, Ramondre Stevens is averaging 5 yards a carry, so he's doing just fine. But again, this is Bill Belichick and running backs.
Yeah.
Every year, somebody different, it seems.
True.
So I'm not really concerned with that part of it. Ezekiel Elliott's still a fairly productive back. He's still fine enough. He's still more dense than a lot of the guys out there. He's still probably strong.
Yeah.
But we don't know what else is going on in Dallas. Dallas is a mismanaged organization.
It's true.
They can't figure out what they want. They would rather pay Dak Prescott than go out and find the actual replacement that might help him.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not putting I'm putting stock in the idea that he's not as good as he once was. Fair. But I'm not going to say that is such a bad or raw deal for the Patriots to do this. I don't think so. I think this is a good move for them. And if nothing else, guess what? You sell a couple of jerseys, it's still a business.
You got some extra depth, I guess. That's true.
If he plays second string running back there, just like he was playing second string, in the last
Pollard,
place, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So, because I don't know what he cost. You don't know, and we don't remember.
I don't.
It can't be that much. He didn't have exactly a whole bunch of people lining up for him.
No, he really didn't.
Although I did think he was going to end up on the Seahawks.
Yeah. Well,
I really thought he was going to end up on the
They
Seahawks.
have a lot of running backs already.
Well, they've got a couple guys that you don't need, and then they have K9.
Yeah.
He's their guy. He's the 96, but then they just drafted Charbonneau, so he's rookie deal. But I figure with Ezekiel Elliott, K9, and Charbonneau, that would have been a great little setup.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the what the Seahawks are still carrying 7 running backs right now. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's preseason, right?
it's true. It's
I'm
yeah,
not. I'm
and
not.
you're gonna get
What's
rid
the
of some.
depth chart prediction for the Seahawks is the question there, because I want to know who they've got pegged as the 1, 2, and 3. Because I'm assuming they
Walker,
have Walker at 1, Charbonnet at 2, DJ Dallas
Charbonnet.
3.
Yep.
Cut DJ Dallas and Kenny McIntosh.
I mean,
Bounce those
you
mofos,
could have,
and let's get Zeke in here.
right?
I thought they were going to, because Zeke, I think, fits that like hard nosed, disgruntled player thing that Pete Carroll likes.
Yeah, I like the idea that Jackson Smith and Jigba is your third wide receiver. I think that makes Seattle better. I think that's I don't know, and we'll talk about it some other time. We're going to do an NFL preview at some point now, but I'm not sure Geno Smith is your guy. I know he had a great year last year.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees with that. Yeah,
But I just don't think that's your guy. I think you need another guy. Whether you can afford another guy with Metcalf and Lockett and the defensive guys, because you just re-signed Bobby Wagner, right?
right.
Anyway, I don't know. Let's talk about something else.
Yep.
Dalvin Cook, yeah. Dalvin Cook is going to be a New York Jet, which makes them a little more dangerous, even. I don't know.
You can only have one running back on the field at a time.
It's true.
Well, that's not true. You can have as many as you want, but only one person can hold the ball at a time.
That's true. But they have Brees
yeah.
Hall and some other guys too, and they're
Brees Hall has injury issues, so I think that's the biggest reason why you picked up Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I mean somebody was going to pick him up, so it was just a matter of time.
Right.
He's a good running back. He has good numbers. He does tend to drop the ball a little bit, but
I think the bigger story here is that Minnesota just got markedly worse.
Maybe, yeah.
Without him on their team, I think they took a sizable step back in their offense.
Maybe. I'm not willing to go that far yet, but maybe you could be right. I don't know.
Who's the running back now?
Who's listed as the starting
for the Vikings? Yeah,
Madison. Alexander Madison.
Yeah, they took a step back.
Could be. That's possible. Alexander Madison, another guy who averaged 3.8 yards a carry last year.
Yeah,
but he only had 74
well just
carries.
had Zeke on your team.
Yeah, you might as well. Anyway, one more thing here. A couple more things. What do you know about the Michael Oher situation?
I know that he's now talking about that they didn't officially adopt him, or that they may not officially adopt him, and that they made him sign paperwork, or that they may have made him sign paperwork that made them his conservators and kind of in control of his money. But the dude's 37 years old. Where was this 10 years ago?
That's the thing. Yeah. Is he out of money?
I mean, he's
is
not
that why
in the
this
league.
is that why this is coming on?
I wouldn't guess. All right. I am not going to play this game where everyone's out to grab money. All right. I'm going to assume that he has some good intention here, but I don't possibly know what that could be at this point in his career.
Do you not think that the family had good intentions? They took him in and provided him a place and helped him get to where he is. You think that was all just a money grab? Because the team that family had money to begin with. They
didn't need his money. Yeah.
They weren't doing poorly, so I mean, weird. I find it weird. There's something going on there, and I'm sure somebody's angry at somebody about something. But and if it's money, then I mean, geez, there was more than enough money for the family and from what he made in the NFL to be, you know what I mean, to go more enough money to go around. And from the movie, which apparently he's upset about, he's not getting residuals from the movie or something, or I don't know,
not enough or something like that.
I don't know. It's a mess. But
the Tuies are accusing him of a shakedown now.
Yeah,
saying that he tried to get $15 million out of him.
Well, after that's the reply to what he came out and said. If you know,
right. That's
it's
all in response to him.
Right.
It just seems like a mess. And if I'm a judge, I'm going, dude, you're 37 years old. This is so far done.
Right. It's been so long.
This has been done for years, and I can't, unless there's a piece of evidence out there that I don't know about, I can't find anything that specifically says that you made a mistake or that they tried to hoodwink you into it, and you didn't notice it earlier. I don't know. It's just interesting.
And my question is, where would you have been without him? If they hadn't have stepped in, would you still be where you are today, or would you have still played NFL football? Would you be in a position?
Even if they, not saying that you don't or know something, but even if they did kind of use you to get something out of you, you still we're able to use them
Correct.
to elevate you.
Correct. Yeah, I think
So
it's a win-win.
it's a
And
win-win. You got to have an NFL career.
yeah. So, but anyway, I don't know. It's weird. I'd like to know more, but we'll figure it out if more information comes available. If instead of it's just finger pointing, who knows? But
Right.
all right. We were going to talk about NFL injuries. I'm running out of time.
Okay.
We're already an hour and 20 minutes into this. Do you want to talk about? There's some NFL injuries to talk about. There's the limited partner for the Houston Texans that's been accused of some sexual misconduct. That's all the Texans need now, is right, another sexual misconduct thing. Do you want to talk about those things? We're going to talk about realignment. Do you want to save realignment?
We can save realignment for next week. The issue becomes,
Mm-hmm.
and this is good strategic planning for on the air, is that next week we start immediate prepping for college football next weekend.
Right.
So next week can be all
college football. Let's do
no, and then the week after will be all
all
NFL talk.
Yep.
Leading into the first week of the NFL.
I like this. Let's do this.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to hang on to college football.
That's right.
So here's the question. So you got some injuries out there in NFL land. Joe Burrow being probably the most notable in the preseason, right? I don't know if he's Jalen Ramsey, right, is out for the year.
Right.
Ray McLeod, there's another one who may not be a huge thing, but that is a special teams. I mean, that guy's fast. That guy's one of those guys who magic happens when he touches the football. Sean Bradley, not that he's a big deal, but he's one of the linebackers for the Eagles. He's going to be out for the season. There's a lot of injuries out there. Are any of them, other than Joe Burrow, and I don't know if Jalen Ramsey's, it's a big deal. Are those, Joe Burrow's going to be back, right? Is he going to get hurt again is my thing. He's had this is another lower leg injury, right?
Yes.
He's had a couple now. When you start having non-contact injuries that cause you to miss time, that to me labels you as fragile. Contact injuries happen. I mean, crap happens. There's a 300-pound guy landing on my leg. That's going to happen, right? But a non-contact injury, when you start having non-contact injuries, that's an issue because you're either not in shape or you're not stretching enough or there's something going on, right? Or there's a physical problem. So I don't know. I feel like that's a major red flag if I'm the Bengals or any other team who might think about him at some point. But I don't know. What do you think about that situation?
There's not a lot to think about. The dude is taking you to a Super Bowl and an AFC Championship game in back-to-back seasons. Even if he does miss a couple weeks, this is Anthony Davis, right? Are you concerned about the injuries? Are you still going to pay him? Yes, you are, because when he's on the field, he's incredible.
Well, there's only 17 games. If you miss 3 or 4 of these, rough.
You're still well capable of being playoff eligible.
Sure, you maybe, depending upon who you lose to.
Well, so think about it this way: even if you barely squeak in on a wild card spot, you can be the Miami Heat.
It's
just
true.
because you didn't have your full team for most of the season. You know what I mean? It's not a real concern. I'd be more concerned. He's had a weird calf injury and he's had a knee injury. The knee injuries happen. That's life. That's football, right? The calf injury is a little strange. Usually that's something you're doing or something about your training. Was not loose enough or something like that. Again, that's more looking inward. I want to know what it is. Did he tear his calf?
Right.
Is it just a heavy strain? Because I've heavy strained my calf.
Everybody has.
But tearing your calf is a process.
That's different.
So there's still a lot to know, and Zach Taylor's being particularly quiet about it. I'm trying to figure out what advantage that gives him. I guess if your week 1 and week 2 teams don't know who to expect at quarterback, but why wouldn't you plan for Joe Burrow? And then if it's Trevor Siemian, then
right. I was going to say
it
kind of leaves you really know who's coming.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. Like Trevor Siemian's a noticeable step down from Joe Burrow, so I don't see what benefit it does to keep his injury news under wraps,
right?
Unless it's a big injury.
You're not prepping for Jake Browning. That's not happening.
Right.
But
but if it's a big injury, meaning like season ending,
right,
that affects ticket sales. That affects
It
jersey
does.
sales.
It
That affects
does.
1,000 things. So
Yep.
yeah, your ownership group might be like, hey, shut up on this. He's going to miss half the season. We already know this. We don't want you saying anything.
We
No.
don't want to report it until we have to report a game missed
So
for
we're
injury. Right.
required to
Exactly.
report it. Yep.
Yep.
So let's keep this locked in.
That's true.
Because yeah, week 1 might come out and they might say he might immediately get put on the physically unable to perform list.
Right. Yeah,
and
for
next
sure.
thing you know, he's out for 5 or 6 weeks, and all those people who bought tickets to weeks 2 and 4 and whatever, they're like, "Damn it, no Joey B."
Yeah, I mean, are they gonna? Do you think Cincinnati? Do you think Cincinnati is going to be as good as they were last year? If he stays healthy,
I
if he's healthy,
see
and he plays
no
healthy.
reason to expect they wouldn't be.
Okay. All right.
They have done nothing but, I'm not gonna say trend upward, because they did once Joe Burrow got there, and they obviously next year with the Super Bowl, but that standard hasn't really changed. They were a player or two away from another Super Bowl.
They were 5-4 last year after Halloween's game, after the loss to Cleveland. They were 5-4, and then they went 8-0. Yeah. So, well, technically they won 10 straight if you count the wild card game in the divisional round.
Yeah, I see no reason to expect they wouldn't continue to be successful, wouldn't continue to be potential AFC Championship players. That being said, I don't see a way that they get past Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes every single year.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That'll be interesting. And by the way, the Bengals play the Bills regular season again, like early. I'm looking forward to that game that we didn't get to see all of the DeMar Hamlin rematch. Yeah, we saw the divisional round one. I get it, but it wasn't the same. So, anyway,
Yeah.
Joe Burrow. I'm gonna hold my judgment on Joe Burrow. He's a good quarterback. He's good.
Yeah.
He's not elite. I don't necessarily think, because he has a lot of good players around him. There's a lot of talent on Cincinnati's roster. I think a lot of players get boosted into this elite quarterback category by virtue of who's around them. And
I don't think he has anybody around him though.
Well,
other than Jamar Chase, right? But you're not. I mean, you're not over here no one's boosting up Kirk Cousins into that crazy category just because he's got Justin Jefferson. There's still an element of what you have to do, and I think that Joe Burrow has excellent decision-making skills.
Yeah.
And he one thing he has that I don't see a lot of other people have, he knows when to run. Like, I see a lot of times when quarterbacks, just run kind of haphazardly.
Right.
Like, oh, I got to go now, and they take off, and it's like, no, you probably should have waited a second more, or you probably should have done this. He has a great knack for, like, all right, it's closing. I've got, 1.5 seconds. That's plenty of time. He stays in for hits, like, to make throws and things like that, and he is great with his damn checkdowns, man.
Yeah. And he also has T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. He's got more than a couple.
Yeah, guys that you wouldn't pay a max contract to.
No,
so
but
like
they were good last year.
T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are, and this is like comparatively across, they're worse than like Tyler Lockett, right? And Tyler Lockett's not even the 2 on that, or is the 2 on that team. They're probably worse than Cortland Sutton. They're probably on par with Jerry Jeudy. They're good receivers, but I think they're good receivers made better by Joe Burrow.
Right.
Versus, I think Jamar Chase makes Joe Burrow a little better.
And you know who the number 1 running back was last year?
Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon.
Right.
Joe Mixon ran for 3.8 yards a carry, by the way.
Hey, 3.8. That's the magic number.
That's the magic number. That's all you have to do to be successful.
You want to be a starter in this league?
Starter.
3.8, bud.
3.8. Oh my gosh, this is just funny. When I pulled it up, I was like, he only ran for what did he do? He ran for 814 yards. 3.9. I guess he ran for 3.9.
Well,
but anyway,
now he's overqualified.
Yeah, he's overqualified. Anyway, there was that. So anyway, injuries are interesting, I find, in the NFL, and especially preseason ones, because you don't always hear what's going on, and it's going to affect more than a lot of them are going to affect more than what you say, other than season-ending ones. When it's a season-ending injury, they usually tell you that. I mean, if you guy had to go in and get surgery, Jalen Ramsey, you already know that he's out for the season. There are things like that. I think that they think optimistically Joe Burrow is going to play most of this season.
I don't think he's done for the year, but I would if he missed 2-3 weeks, it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh no, not at all. That'd be interesting. Anyway, I guess we'll find out. More to come.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, when we do the NFL thing, we'll know more. We might not, but hopefully we'll know more by then. What do you know about Javier Loya, Houston Texans minority owner? He's facing multiple charges of sexual assault in Kentucky.
Yeah.
1 count of first-degree rape, 5 counts of first-degree sexual assault, 1 count of third-degree sexual abuse. He was indicted on May 10th. May
Mhm.
10th. I want that to sink into everybody. The news is just coming out about this like last week. May the 10th in Jefferson County, Kentucky Circuit Court. He pleaded not guilty on May 15th, was released on a $50,000 bond. A Houston Texans statement about this read, "We are aware of the serious charges filed in the Commonwealth of Kentucky against Javier Loya, one of our outside limited partners." Phrasing means everything, by the way. I love the way they say that. An outside limited partner.
Right.
He's not an owner of the team. He's an outside limited partner. Um, let's be honest. The last thing the Texans need is a sex abuse scandal, right? A sexual assault allegations.
Right.
It's interesting. I come to find out, what I read is that a lot of this stuff is from parties that he held. Yeah, at his place, his Louisville home, in May of 2022. So
Right.
yeah, apparently he hired female models from a local agency. The models are accusing him of sexual abuse.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking, let's see. They said one of the women claims that Loya touched her and spoke to her in a sexual manner, grabbing her butt and breasts without her consent.
Sure.
So if that's the case, then you know. But of course, he's denying everything. Sweeping denial of the allegations his lawyer has issued already, because of course, that's what they're going to say. They're not going to say, "Yeah, he did it." I don't know. It's weird. It's like is the whole Houston Texans organization now? I feel like is there a culture of
I
that?
this To me this is ridiculous. All right, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous that you're going to tie one of the 11 minority owners
Right. There's a
directly
lot.
back for something that didn't even happen at the place in the state. Like
Right.
it's somewhere else in time. It's irrelevant. Yes, this guy's a POS, and if he did something wrong, absolutely get after him. But to somehow put this back on the Texans because
Well,
they have rich people invested in their team.
that's true.
What's new? White collar criminals, right? It happens all the time. It doesn't mean that the organization has an endemic problem. It just means that people are crappy. And
Could
every
be.
once in a while, crappy people have money, and those crappy people get involved with the organization.
It's true.
But this guy, he's a minority owner. He's barely I mean, I don't know what his stakeholding actually is.
It's like 1%. It's not
it's
very much.
just it just doesn't it should not have this much of a tie to the Texans. And the only
Yeah.
reason it does is because of the Deshaun Watson thing.
Right.
If the Deshaun Watson thing hadn't happened, nobody would be saying, is there a culture problem here?
Right.
Because this crap happens all the time.
Okay. Well, if it
Like
happens,
it's terrible, but it happens often. The amount of times that minority owners get in trouble for this or for that or for this or for that, and it just goes, no, they're their own people.
right.
But because of what happened with Deshaun Watson last year, who isn't even on the team, if you believe Deshaun Watson was the problem, because all this stuff that Deshaun Watson was doing wasn't with the Texans. It was like at
No.
his house and
Sure.
at his own places. It wasn't like at the facilities and stuff like that. So, that's again, it's almost outside of the team. But that being said, now is the time when you pull all your minority owners in close and you say, you do not mess up.
Right.
You need to knock it off. All of you.
I mean, yeah. It's
I mean,
just
it's weird.
interesting.
Yeah, I just think that it's bound to happen. Like, if you have enough people invested in your group, in your team, at some point somebody's gonna do it. Somebody's gonna do something wrong.
Right. Hey, you've seen highlights of one game of 3 starting quarterbacks or 3 potential rookie quarterbacks: Anthony Richardson,
Right.
C.J. Stroud, and Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick one of those guys to be your starting quarterback right now, which one of those 3 you pick?
C.J. Stroud.
Okay, fair enough. We'll see if that changes after week 2.
Well, yes, I like that idea.
We have to go one more game. I'm going to need a bigger sample size. I know, right? But I mean, okay, I would say Anthony Richardson at this point.
I just don't.
I don't know.
We'll see. I think he's got the lowest ceiling of everyone.
He might, but I don't think any of the 3 of them were gangbusters. You know what I mean? You didn't come out and go, "Wow, that guy looked great." You were like, "Okay, looks like a rookie," right? It's
Right.
interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I'm still, the jury's out. So it may be a whole nother quarterback. I might not even throw it in as an option, but I'm just saying.
Right.
It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to.
I choose Stetson Bennett.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. He has a good opportunity because he
His
can play
first
behind
game
someone.
was good.
Because he's got an opportunity to grow. I don't like rookie quarterbacks getting drafted by the worst team in football because they come in and they have to play because you just spent a gazillion dollars on a rookie quarterback, right? And he's going to come in and get thrown into the worst offensive line in football. That's why you guys were in last place last year. Let's admit it. And so now he's going to get sacked 30 or 40 times this season. And you immediately are punishing this guy, and he's going to get gun shy. That happens. And not very many rookie quarterbacks come in and just light it up. There's not very many. It doesn't happen very often. You see it time and time again where a rookie quarterback, oh, he was great in college. How come he's not good in the NFL? Because he got sacked 50 times in his first season. And everybody dropped the ball that he threw it to him. So he has nobody to play with. He's going to look like crap. His numbers are crap. His confidence goes down. But those guys who came in and got a chance to play behind and sit on the bench and learn from an experienced quarterback, they're in a great position. So
I don't think it matters. Because I feel like for every person that you say, came in and struggled, you have people who came in and didn't, right? Long-term success aside, we're talking about first, second-year success, that sort of thing, like early career success. Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Robert Griffin III, Ryan Tannehill, they all started as rookies, and they all had fantastic first and second years. So the idea of you just coming right into terrible teams, because the Cowboys were terrible at the time, the Titans were not good at the time, the Bucks were terrible at the time, like the Raiders have been terrible for a while when Derek Carr got there. It didn't matter. A good quarterback's a good quarterback. You sink or you swim. I do like the idea of being able to sit behind people and learn, but if you're that good, you don't need it. Patrick Mahomes is going to be a superstar whether or not he sat behind Alex Smith. It was going to happen. You didn't need it. Aaron Rodgers, I believe, the same way, although I'm sure he picked up more from some good people over there. So I just don't see there's not enough evidence to support that sitting yields a better longer term quarterback. Now, the common thread between all those ones who I just mentioned is that most of them have kind of flamed out, with the exception of Derek Carr. Ryan Tannehill technically still hasn't flamed out, and Dak Prescott. But the point is to be able to come in and have success in the first couple of years, all of these guys have done that. There are also guys who sat and were plenty fine. Joe Burrow came in and he got injured his first year, but he was on fire until he got injured. And then his second year, he went to a Super Bowl.
Well,
so sitting doesn't necessarily yield better results.
And you can say that all you want, and that's fine. I would disagree somewhat in that what recent history has shown us. So here, Tom Brady didn't come in and start right away. Yep. Because we had Drew Bledsoe, right?
Right.
So he sat behind Drew Bledsoe, greatest quarterback of all time, arguably.
Right.
Got to sit down and not come right in right off the bat. Aaron Rodgers played in a total of 7 games his first 3 years.
Right.
Okay. Also one of the greatest. Drew Brees didn't play but 1 game his first year. Those guys all sat. The three of the best quarterbacks of all time sat out at least a year, or played in a game because of injury, or played in what minimal time, just got in mop-up duty or whatever. They sat first. They sat at least 1 season and learned the NFL before they ever were thrown in behind a center and got where it was important.
Peyton Manning did sit a year.
That's true. Well, Peyton Manning is a rare player, and there are some.
You don't get to say that after just mentioning Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a rare player.
I don't think so. Tom Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady's an everyman. Anyone can do it.
I don't think Tom Brady's as good as everyone gives him credit for.
I think Tom Brady's better than you give him credit for, but yes, he may not be as good as everyone gives him credit for.
I think Tom Brady became better as he went along. He got good, but that's the beneficiary of having tremendous team around him. But I'm just saying, Peyton Manning came into not necessarily the best situation and survived anyway.
Ben Roethlisberger went 13-0 as a rookie.
Yeah, but he didn't start the first game, right? He came in.
He started the first game, right?
Did he?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
I'm pretty darn sure.
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe you're right.
Well, it says he went 13-0. Hold on. It doesn't actually say.
I think he came in because someone got hurt.
Yeah, originally intended to sit behind veteran Tommy Maddox. The entire season plans abruptly changed when Maddox was hurt in team's week 2. So week 2, you're talking week 2 though. You didn't
Well,
sit for
he
a whole
didn't sit for
year.
very long. No, he didn't sit for very long. And I'm just he
There are
was
plenty of
there
evidence
are
to support success immediately. Hall of Famers
okay.
success immediately starting as rookies. But there's also evidence to support
I
sitting, which means that there's no actual recipe.
I will but give me 2 weeks because in two
And
weeks we're going to
also
talk about the
the
NFL.
the who are you sitting behind is the question,
Doesn't matter who
right?
you're sitting behind.
Well,
It really doesn't.
well, it right. You would think it kind of does, right? Because you're talking about Tom Brady sat behind Drew Bledsoe, who's a Hall of Famer. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre, who's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about guys sitting behind Hall of Famers already, like versus Patrick Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith. He's
Mm-hmm.
not a Hall of Famer. Like it's a different thing. I don't know. I don't I've done we talked about this I think last year or the year before a little bit, and I did research then, and there's just no evidence to say one is better than the other. It just is really situational. But I believe talent will out. I believe these people have these quarterbacks have talent, or they don't. They can either do it or they can't. And yes, getting sacked sucks, right? Joey Harrington. Let's all go back there. We always do. Joey Harrington got sacked a ton. Absolutely. And then after he got sacked a ton, they still didn't go out and draft linemen. And he got sacked more. So that's an ownership failing a quarterback, not necessarily a quarterback that can't do it, but that rarely happens because usually you draft a quarterback and then you draft him a bunch of linemen. And then it either works or it doesn't. I just think that there's nothing wrong with the sink or swim method, and learning is good also, but it depends on who you're learning from. You're right, though. Stetson Bennett sitting behind Matt Stafford, who has a lot of years in the league, is a good deal for him. And that's a chance to take over later, but that's a good deal for him. But I just don't see that many of those happening where somebody sits behind somebody else that is a Hall of Famer, right?
Okay.
I'll tell you, whoever's learning behind Patrick Mahomes, does it matter? Can he do what Patrick Mahomes does? Because I don't think so. I don't think anybody's ever been able to do that. Patrick Mahomes has a weird type of athleticism and intelligence that's unheard of.
Yeah.
So the person sitting behind him is not going to be Patrick Mahomes,
No.
not even close, and is not going to be nearly as light. So when he comes in, your expectation of excellence is going to have to drop dramatically.
But he is going to learn from him. He's going to learn.
He's going to learn something, yeah. But I mean, it feels like Patrick Mahomes does it on the fly every week.
That's true. But I mean, you would learn to adapt and improvise like that. You're going to see a guy who does something like that.
Assuming you have those, and this would be Andy Reid though. But assuming you have those intangible, like those,
right.
Oh my gosh, those skills. Like assuming you have the ability to run and things like that and jump, and if you can do all those things that Patrick Mahomes can do, then you're just taking in knowledge.
Yeah.
But if you're not even the same level of physicality, if you're not even the same level physically as Patrick Mahomes because you're a true pocket passer or whatever, then that kind of sucks. That's what you see when Patrick Mahomes gets hurt and that backup comes in. I can't remember his name at the moment, which is killing me because he had some really, really big plays. When that backup comes in, he can't do half the things that Patrick Mahomes can do. And it becomes evident right away that team is dramatically different with him. So
Chad Henne,
that's the guy. Oh, Henne getting those 3 necessary yards in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's tough.
I will do some research, and we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna look at the best quarterbacks of all time and see what happened. The top, I don't know, top 20, and we'll see how many of them sat out games.
I want to make a caveat on this.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about anybody before, let's say, the CBA in the 90s.
Okay.
Just because it's a different ball game, there's different amounts of pay, there's different expectations on teams. So mid 90s to current, that still spans a lot of different times and adjustments and rules and things like that. I feel like you can still get a pretty good.
Well, most of the ones
we're talking about,
are going to be that way.
Yeah. But like Dan Marino is a great example. Dan Marino started as a rookie.
He did.
And he's one of the greatest of all time. He's a Hall of Famer. He didn't have to sit behind anybody.
He didn't.
But it doesn't. But could he have been better if he did? We'll never know that. So we'll have to compare it against people that we do know who sat and their level of success versus people that didn't sit and their level of success.
So, I guess the question is, that's a good question.
It's tough, right?
You have to talk. I'm just talking about ones that became successful. Is there a better chance you're successful because you sat, or is there a better chance you're successful because you just came in and started playing football? Some of that has to do with situation, team, that kind of stuff. Yes, but a lot of it has to do with, and some of it has to do with your talent, your individual talent. You were going to be good
Right.
regardless, right? Patrick Mahomes kind of person.
And that's why I think it's like a 2-year success thing. Like some people come in their first year and it's okay. Like John Elway, his first year, I want to say was like 4-7 when he took over for an injury.
Yeah, he was still trying to play baseball though.
Yeah, he wasn't committed, but then his second year he made a massive jump
Yeah.
as the designated starter. So that's always kind of tough too. And also I don't mind if you took over for injuries as long as you played more than half the season. As long as you play more than half the season as a rookie, I think that counts as you starting your rookie year to some extent.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right. Well, I guess that's probably all we have for today, though.
That is it.
Yeah, I don't have much else unless you've got something else you want to say because we went on a
I
long
do.
time.
Yeah, hour and 40 minutes.
And
Hope
we
you
didn't even
guys
talk about
buckled in.
realignment. We started talking about all this other stuff. So I don't know, man. It's tough. All right. So let's just where's my at? Where's it at? I gotta get the right button. That's all I'm
Here you
trying
go.
to find. I'm just finding the right button. So I guess we're done. So next week, college football and nothing but college football. We'll talk about the AP poll that came out. We'll talk about college realignment. We'll talk about games we're excited to see, non-conference games. I mean, you're always excited for certain conference games. Obviously, matchups are good. Oregon, Washington, Auburn, Alabama. You love those kind of games. You want to watch those. But what are the best non-conference games we're going to see this year? And then we'll make some bold predictions. We're going to list our 4 college football playoff teams at the end. Okay?
Right.
That's tomorrow.
I like it.
Or that's next week.
Next week.
And then we'll do the NFL the following week. And all right. Well, it was good. That's all we have for today. And again, we're going to see you next week at the 23rd, August the 23rd, Wednesday. And probably back to a regular live time unless you've got something going on. We'll let you know. I'll put it on Facebook. But anyway, we're on YouTube every week, right? And we're on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can email us lambsports@gmail.com. And I totally don't have my music going.
I was wondering what was going on.
I don't know because I just don't know. I'm all out of whack. Da, da, da. That's the 39-second one. I got the long one. But anyway, I want to thank ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, ABC Sports, CBS Sports, the NBA, the NFL, NCAA, WNBA, and of course, our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. And next week, college football. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media LLC. I want to thank you for listening, and we'll talk to everybody next week.